That demonstrated right there to me that this whole thing is bullshit. You cannot sit here and tell me that these other niggas are these big ass motherfucking ooga booga threats constantly, and then reach a point where you're literally handing them the keys to the fucking city. You can't tell me that shit both ways. You can't piss on my face and tell me it's rain. And that's why niggas are pissed off. For there to be this many people that have voted before to not show up and for this to happen in response, that is not their fault. The reason why I want to speak to all of this is not even so much that I want to speak on America, but I want to speak on how this pattern has taken shape across the entire world. I would like for people to understand why, and I'd like for people to understand the exact methods through which that has been taken advantage of. And I'd like for people to understand how that can be changed. I don't want to talk too much about the implications of this, that, and the third, or Trump or Kamala or whatever. It's not even that I don't care. I do care a lot, but that is being spoken about so much right now, to the point where I feel like we're at risk of falling victim to yet another cycle of pointing fingers in directions that are not going to do anything because these institutions are failing miserably. The vast majority of the populace does not know why. There's a lot of doomerism. There's a lot of finger pointing. Nobody knows what happened. Everybody's scared. There's just a lot of shit going on right now. And I fear that in this finger pointing, in the process of this, there's going to be a lot of underlying understanding of dynamic completely lost about this. I feel like if I can at least start a conversation around this particular aspect, then maybe I can do my part in illustrating not the problems that we will face, and we will face problems as a result of this, but the scale to which this is a problem. Now, the other thing I want to say before I get into this is that for my audience here, which is small, but it's significant, and y'all are consistent, and I love y'all so much. A good chunk of y'all are European. A good chunk of y'all are from Germany, a good chunk of y'all are from the Netherlands, a good chunk of y'all are from far the fuck away from the United States. And I mention that specifically now because you guys have already seen good chunk of the wave that we're seeing here in terms of the general rise of the right wing on the political spectrum and the general rise of fascism across the board, and how this is not a newly established pattern. People in America that think that this is something new, this is not new. This is not something that is coming out of fucking nowhere. The writing has been on the wall. This is not new. And we had the first hint of it in 2016, but due to the circumstances surrounding COVID-19 and a whole bunch of other things that were just going on in the past couple years, in addition to our own sort of within borders infighting and whatnot, we have not been paying attention to the bigger issue. We have not been paying attention to why this is happening. So I'm gonna pull up this map and show y'all niggas what I mean. This map has been floating around. This map is indicative of the shifts. Keyword, the shifts. In the, how did it turn black and white? Anyway, so this fucking map. This map is indicative not, and this is probably a part of really major confusion for a lot of people. A lot of people probably saw this map and thought that it were indicative of the general leaning populace of the people that are in the corresponding states, right? People probably know that these are shifts, but I don't think people necessarily know entirely what the shifts mean, okay? So the first thing I want to do is demonstrate this. And the reason why I want to demonstrate this is because there's a logic to this that we can not only apply to this map or the individual states or the broader country at large. We can apply this to the state of the world, to the world at large in general as well, have a reason behind that, and try to see if we can, you know, have some sort of explanation as to why we're seeing the shift in general political ideologies across the planet, right? So, for one of these states, let's take New Mexico. There's a little bit of blue, there's a lot of red, and for each county, If you take a look right here, that's a county with the start. I'm gonna look at the root of the arrows, right? So the start of the arrows, not the point. This little arrow here is a county. This little arrow here is a county. That's a county. That's a county. That's a county. Right? So I want to explain the proportions of the motion. If we were to imagine that each of these arrows represents the county, right? The counties that they're in, right? I'm going to say, let's say that each county is gray, right? I want to draw a dot over here. So if I say each county is gray, and it's a big gray bubble, just like that. I want you to imagine this bubble is animated. It's not animated, but I just want to imagine this amorphous blob of energy, this bubble right here, and say that represents the people in the county. And let's say that represents 100 people in that county, right? That 100 people voted a certain way a couple years ago. For the moment, let's just say it doesn't matter how they voted, whether they're majority red or majority blue. This is just representative of the people, not where they lean. So, this is a gray dot, this is a gray dot, this is a gray dot. All these arrows are gray dots right now. What has happened and what each of these arrows mean, each of these arrows represents the, not so much the ideological shift, but more so just where the votes have turned out. How exactly the people have voted in proportion to the overall averaged out bubble that this original gray bubble is, right? So in this case, if we had a state going back to if we had a state like New Mexico that had these three little blue arrows here, we'll compress all those three little blue arrows into this. So this represents three tiny little blue arrows, and this red arrow, or all these red arrows, represents all this space, right? So the point I'm trying to illustrate here, and it's really hard for me because I can picture like transforming the ball and making it morph and shift and represent all these ideas in my head, but I'm not a mathematician, I'm not a physicist, I'm not someone that can like just spit out algorithms or make the math make perfect sense. I'm just trying to draw a picture and see if it helps translate this. My point is that this bubble, right, all of the mass, all of the energy in this little gray bubble represents both the length and the total mass of this arrow and the length and total mass of this arrow, right? And I don't mean total mass as in like all the people in those counties. I mean just like out of the people that voted, right? So what's happened here in New Mexico is that out of the people that voted, there were a lot of people that went this way and there were less people that went that way. That is all. If we take that to Florida, same dot, we can see that these niggas are very, 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 very much red. I'm trying to illustrate very vaguely, very shittily, that the bubble and the arrow are effectively synonymous. The county and the arrows that are representing what's getting spread out in that county are showing this tug of war effect. It's showing a shift in how much power is going this way, how much power is going that way, right? So the first thing I want to say is that I don't want people who have looked at this map and have been very fearful of this map, I don't want them to look at this and think that there has been some very, very incredibly overwhelming resurgence or surge of new right-wing voters that believe in policies that us on the more left-leaning side believe to be dangerous. And, you know, I don't want them to think that this is indicative of a whole new swath of people that are coming through and voting in this way, because that's not what this represents. What this represents is both the people that have voted this way and the people that have voted blue. It represents both of them, even if that blue arrow is smaller. Now, if I take that logic and apply that to New Mexico, and I apply that to Florida, and I apply that to Pennsylvania, and I apply that to all the swing states, all the non-swing states, all the states everywhere. If I take that logic and apply that to all the states on this map, and I apply a very big bubble, very big, super huge, giga fucking large, right? Big at, I'm not gonna draw the bubble, but big ass fucking bubble, right? The overall trend is probably gonna look pretty much something like, zooming out on it, it's pretty bad. Zooming out on it is probably going to look something like about that proportionate for that massive bubble to represent the entire mass of the populace. It's about that much. But again, this does not represent new people voting. This represents out of the total that we know from the last election, from the prior one, right? So based on that, what this basically means, and people have been saying this already, I'm sure most of y'all that are in here probably already know this, but this means that the people on the blue side did not fucking vote, right? We did not vote. I voted, but people did not vote. And this is not even a point of shunning or shame. My objective here is not to shit on the people that didn't vote, because honest to God, I can't blame you. I cannot blame you. I cannot fucking blame you. Here's the thing here, right? I can blame you, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to, because for there to be this much of a shift across the entire US populace, there has to be a crucial, enormous, fundamental problem with the way the with the way that the election system, with the way that the candidates, with the way that there has to be a fundamental, deeply rooted flaw in the system in its entirety for this many people who have voted before. Again, this is representative of a previous sample. These are people that have voted before. This bubble is people that have voted before that are not showing up and filling in the rest of this arrow. For there to be this many people that have not voted, that have voted before, to not show up, and for this to happen in response, that is not their fault. That is not their fault. These are frustrated people. These are deeply frustrated, directly harmed people who have been directly harmed for a really, 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 really long time. And at a certain point, you know, there's been so much conflict, there's been so much finger pointing over who did or didn't vote, this, that, and the third in the past, for the past 2 election cycles, etc. And, you know, I feel like all of that conversation, especially in the midst of the COVID panic, because I feel like that definitely energized people to make sure we did not die to that fucking disease, at least here. You know, people, I feel like this problem of people being fundamentally upset with the way things are run has been largely ignored by, at the very least, the Democratic Party on the formal end of it. And I'm not talking about the voter, I'm talking about the platform, the actual politicians in there. It's been largely disregarded, and I'm not going to speak to specific campaign issues or whatever. It all went the way it was going to go. That doesn't matter to me. The point is, the broader theme of things is that this shit right here, this frustration, all of this has not been properly addressed, and that is how we got the result that we did. Because the red arrow spoke to these people. The blue arrow, as in the people that were being elected or trying to get elected, did not speak to these people, at least not in a meaningful way. And this pattern of people not getting spoke to, not being brought in to the hypothetical, theoretical kitchen table to discuss the problems and see what's going on, is bringing us, shepherding us across not just here, but the world into a broader pattern of, I wasn't going to hop straight into populism, but populism, where now there is so much demand on the part of the average citizen of the planet for something, literally anything. We are reaching a point of near total desperation. Like, it feels disillusioned to say that from a United States perspective, but you know, the situation is such that there's so many people that have too much wealth, that are doing this, that, and the third with it that they shouldn't be fucking doing. And then there's even more people that, you know, don't know where to turn when they're struggling in whatever way, medical care, healthcare, affording eggs and bacon, whatever the case is. I'm not saying that those issues justify voting in a way that is against your interests, which is what is happening here, but it does, you know, speak to the consistency of the problem. People are upset. They are not getting their needs met, and when their needs are not getting met, it creates this vacuum of opportunity where somebody, anybody, any fucking idiot can come through, say directly to their face, in their eyes, that I am going to solve this problem. And of course the person that is desperate is going to listen. With that effect in mind, that is really the only degree of thing, of activity, of issue that can really, really influence a map to this extent. To an extent where 15 million people say, no, I cannot do this again. I cannot be forced to pick between one of these two people, or I'm going to go to the one that is speaking directly to me. That is an enormously powerful effect. The reason why I want to speak to all of this is not even so much that I want to speak on America, but I want to speak on how this pattern has taken shape across the entire world. And I would like for people to understand why. And I'd like for people to understand the exact methods through which that has been taken advantage of. And I'd like for people to understand how that can be changed. Granted, that change is going to be real fucking slow. And a lot of people, an enormous number of people, are probably going to come to harm before that change comes to pass. And it is deeply unfortunate. I was speaking to a mentor of mine earlier today about the enormous power that we have with these stupid things right here, with platforms like this, with live streams like this. We have so many people effectively talking with super megaphones that can infiltrate hundreds of thousands of houses at once, and they can just say whatever the fuck, and we are ignoring the power of that. We are ignoring of how the power of that has infiltrated all these homes, has infiltrated the homes of people here, has infiltrated the homes of people across the world, and has just said every little thing that these poor people, these real people, these hurting people have needed to hear. And they have used that to claim power. And the worst part about it is that they've used that to claim power deeply irresponsibly. And because of that, now people are going to come to harm. And with the way this trend is going, it could get worse. It's likely going to get much worse before it get better. It's destined to fizzle out at some point. These people are naturally incompetent, referring to people like Donald Trump or people like Le Pen or people like whatever country you're in. It's insane how much influence they've accrued. So we know what happened. I want to talk about the how, because the how is loose. Hold on. We've been living in a very similar kind of political landscape for the last 2,000 years. What do you mean 2,000 years? Yes, literally since the fucking age of the Roman Republic. Yeah. What the Roman Republic didn't have were these fucking megaphones, right? What the Roman Republic didn't have was the outreach. I think we're living in an era now where there is so much outreach that just comes. The average baby can just fart out a fucking smartphone at birth. There's just too many avenues: the internet, the radio, TV, social media, smartphones, everything. There's so many avenues through which any type of messaging can be broadcasted through. And it's not to say that's the only thing that's going down, because this shit was done on pen and paper back in the day. It's not to say that's the only method, but it does amplify it. It does amplify the effect. And, you know, I feel like there's a lot of ignorance to that I think that is usually, perpetuated by people just kind of treating these as like, these are distraction devices, TikTok is bad, yeah. And it's like, no. I was talking to somebody earlier about this today, but you have to understand that when I talk here and y'all hear my voice and you respond in the chat, we're talking. Even if I weren't talking to you, if I were to come on this stream and have a really rough moment, like at the very start of the stream, if I were to come into the stream, try to start, and before I even start talking, I'm just crying, right? Y'all would immediately know that, hey, yo, Arb is fucked up. What's going on, right? It would speak to something. It would send a signal to your mind, right? It would say something off. It would say that something's weird. And, you know, we live in a space where there's so much at the micro level, from the individual person that's posting a TikTok to the macro level to people talking on the news. There's so many faces saying words, making gestures, doing things, and overall sending messages, verbal, nonverbal, emotional, whatever the case is. We are exposed to so much. We're exposed to so many things, so many people, so many sentiments, and people respond to those. People see them, people internalize them, whether you think about it or not. And it's like parasocial relationships, media conglomerates. Yes, yes, yes. The fact that we meet like 1,000 people a day through the internet is absurd. It's insane. It is enormously potent and powerful. And I feel like we do not talk enough about this effect. And this is why the focus of my channel is not video games. I'm working on a video game. I love video games. If not for them, the possibility is non-zero that I would not be alive today. Real shit. The value of that as a medium, just for its pure entertainment value, is not lost on me. But when I come here and I speak, I'm not here to just talk about, you know, how cool it is that I got a fucking pentakill. My point is to talk about what is it that makes up the heart and the soul of these games, and what are the messages that are meant to be communicated through the experience being provided by its developers. What is happening there? What message are they trying to send to me? I want to learn that, I want to feel that, I want to translate that, and I want to share that with you people out here. That's what I want to do when I do that kind of thing, right? And that doesn't just go for games. That goes for cartoons, that goes for media, that goes for shows, whatever. That's what I like to do. That is what my platform is for. My objective is not to just play the games. My objective is to pick them the fuck apart and make those messages, at least feel them. Even if I can't understand them fully, I want to feel them, and I want people to feel them with me. And my point in bringing that up is that, you know, through all these mediums, through all of the TikToks, through all of the videos, through all of the everything that we consume, out of the vast volume of all the things that we consume every hour, every day, through whatever device that we're using to consume them through, they're all sending messages. They're all sending messages, and whether we want to believe that or not, those messages register with us. We internalize them. We use them. We remember them. They influence us whether we want them to or not. You are not immune to propaganda. And I'm not saying that every fucking TikTok is propaganda, but my point is that we're already in a very primed situation such that people can succumb to the influence of really anything much, much, much more easily than you would see in the days of the fucking Roman Republic, right? So in trying to illustrate that, I feel like if we want to combat this problem, right, we gotta start taking advantage of that. We need people to talk. We need people to be honest. We need people to reach. We need people to say what's on their mind. Granted, people are saying what's on their mind a little too candidly when it comes to some of this other shit, but we need people to come to the opposite effect of that. We need people who are doing, not to suck my own dick, but we need people who are doing what I'm doing. We need people who are sitting here and who are observing things, who are making their own observation of the effects that they see, who are seeing frustrations in the ways that they do, and finding different ways to communicate that to other people, because this shit where people are gonna fucking just like, we believe in the spirit of this, that, and the third, and hoopy-doopy-doo, we're gonna build a better one, I promise you, you will buy a house. It's not going to work anymore. It's not. In our lifetimes, it might not ever work again. It might not ever work again. And people might see this and feel like I'm being hyperbolic. I'm gonna give it to them, whatever. People might see this and be like, there's gonna be a democracy, shut up. And you know what? I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm not gonna argue with you. This is not even out of spite. I'm not even mad at people that are gonna preemptively say that. Like, I'm not even trying to shit on you. I could be wrong. I don't know. It could be a total coin flip. I am not a fortune teller. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. All I know is I have learned from history that the patterns that we are seeing here right now are not the best. And if you know that to be true, great, come with me. If you don't, I hope you don't have to learn the lessons the hard way. I hope that you don't. But my point is that there's too much of this power of influence, this power of having a platform like this, of any kind, that at the very least, even if you like people like Aiden Ross, even if you like people like Ben Shapiro, even if you like people like, on the left side, even if you like people like Kyle Kalinske, if you like people like Vosh, even if you like people like Hassan Anabi, Hassan? Just Hassan. Even if you like Hassan, like, no matter who these people are, no matter what they stand for, my point is that they are all engaged in what I'm going to call, for lack of a better term, a influence marketplace. Their stocks? I don't know if that's the right way to call it, but the point is, like, you know, these people occupy huge chunks of space, and whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether you believe it's good, whether you believe it's bad, the influence that these people have is not something to be ignored. And I'm not just trying to focus on just people that have online presences here. This applies to news people. This applies to a TikTok or whatever the fuck. This applies to every level of celebrity, A, B, C, all the way down to like freaking D status. But the point is this, like the old classic, like legacy methods of getting information out there and having people believe or not believe it, reality is fiction. Real statistics, real information, policy and tradition and things actually meaning what they're supposed to mean when you read them in a book. All of that shit is dead. It is gone. It is really possibly not coming back. And when you look at this map, this is the proof of that. This is the proof of that. Because if you look at the campaign of Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump, if you look at that campaign by itself, in isolation, I was inclined to call it a bad campaign when I was watching. I didn't want to vote for her. I was not excited about her. I can't think of a soul that was in my interpersonal circles, and that's part of the problem. But in terms of handling the issues and trying to, you know, present herself as a candidate, she did everything by the book right. She did everything right. She did everything to the best of her ability, and honestly, considering she only had 107 days, she did a kick-ass job. I'm not trying to suck her dick. I'm not trying to give her undue praise, but by the book, to your point, Max, by the book, she did everything right and failed miserably. Miserably. To an extent worse than Hillary Clinton. She failed miserably. And if that does not directly correlate with this effect, that shows that niggas are over this shit. If we do not learn that lesson now, we're beyond cooked. We burnt, nigga. Real shit. Realest shit imaginable. It's not good. It's not good, but this is the game that we're playing now. We ain't playing Brawl. This is Melee, nigga. We ain't playing Melee. This is Project Plus, nigga. This is real shit. We wave dashing, nigga, okay? We are officially in universal monkey brain territory, okay? And I don't mean that I don't even mean that in an ironic, funny man way, like hoo hoo ha ha. I mean that legitimately. We are in an era now where going by the book will not appeal to people if you want to maintain a functioning system of government. We are at a point now where appealing to monkey brain fears and monkey brain desires, literal ape, I'm talking about the fact that we are primates, literal appeal to that psychological shit is going to be what decides our future in terms of our future leadership. And whereas before we've had a certain degree of control over, you know, how the media goes about things, how the news will report on things, how certain things will just go, how we've known them with the news and the papers and the rallies and all that, whatever the case is. While we've had that advantage historically, we do not have it anymore. We are in a new era, we have new technology, we have new issues we have to worry about, and we have new access to seeing them. And we have new ways of communicating those to other people. And those have not been taken advantage of by the left. They have been taken advantage of by the right, enormously so. And I'm not even saying, and again, I want this message to appeal to people as broadly as possible. I don't want people to look at this and be like, that I'm being some radical motherfucker. And let's be clear, I'm a radical motherfucker, but fuck that, okay? Fuck all that. Fuck all the policies I want. I'm talking about a fundamental principle here, a fundamental effect here that is taking place at a sociological, psychological level. That it is a neutral force. It is a power. It is a force amplifier. It's like a social gun. And that gun can go one way or the other way. So do what y'all gotta fucking do. Because this shit is real serious now. One of the things that got me started streaming, when I first started doing this, it was in response to seeing a whole bunch of YouTube shorts on the fucking Manosphere, on Aiden Ross, on Sneeko, on Andrew Tate, on Jordan Peterson, on stupid ass motherfuckers like that. I saw that and my first response was, hold up, these niggas saying this stupid shit and they're making money and I'm smarter than them? Give me a piece of that fucking pie, right? And then the more I've done it over the past year, I realized that no, this is more important than that. This is dramatically more important than that. This is influence. People that are here right now, listening to me right now, freaking David just a minute ago telling me, preach, nigga. People are energized to an extent, even if I'm sure not all of you are shaking your fists at me at the screen like, but like, does it not matter? Are y'all not registering with what I'm saying right now? Do you not feel at least something from my words? Whatever that something is, I don't care if it's a little, I don't care if it's a lot, that shit matters. And I've recognized the importance of that in the past year of getting even just a little bit of growth and the amount of support that y'all have shown me in my community. And, I try to work as much as I can to try and expand that and balloon that and provide a good experience for y'all when I do get on this camera. But it's not just about the entertainment. I want y'all to understand the way that I think. One, because I feel like I have good ideas. And two, because I want to be transparent with y'all. I don't want y'all to follow me and throw money at me and recommend me to other people if y'all feel like what I'm saying is bullshit. That's why I ask for checks on occasion, And, I just have a deep recognition for the importance of that. And a lot of times when I hesitate on talking about things like this, it's because, I want to make sure I'm not leading people the wrong fucking way. I don't know. But after the events of this week, no, I do know. This shit is dangerous. This shit is powerful. This shit is spooky. And whether we want to acknowledge it or not in the moment, this shit is what runs the world now. It's not the law. If a nigga with 34 convictions cannot get arrested, can still run for president, can win the presidency with roaring, outrageous applause, the law is not what runs this fucking land. It's monkey brain. It's monkey brain. And monkey see, monkey fucking do. So, in looking at this map one more time, I would like for people to consider what I've spoken on. Look at this. Look at the math. I didn't show y'all niggas any math, but look at the bubble. Put this in proportion. Consider this carefully. And consider that not only this country, but every other major country in the world is going through a shift at least somewhat similar. Consider that. Consider the effects that I've discussed. And think about not only what you consume, but about what you say. Because it'll bounce off somebody. It matters. And for those of you in the world who likely will not see this video, I'm talking directly now to the Aiden Rosses and the Sneekos and the Jordan Petersons and whatnot. A lot of you know what you're doing with that information, with that knowledge, with that understanding that if I press this button socially, I will get this result from the people that follow me. There's a part of me that wants to just throw a fuck you out, but I'm not going to. It's more so a matter of I really, truly hope that the responsibility that you have treated with such disrespect is, you know, I hope that your actions are met with the appropriate reaction. Physics is a bitch. That's all I got.